I always want to reproduce my favorite games. At that time, it was Sonic Hedgehog or Mario. My father was an entrepreneur. He's not this kind of startup entrepreneur. He had like a small store. Before the Abstra, I never thought about raising. Actually, I didn't understood this was even a possibility. So my thought was always I had to be as lean as possible.
So, considering the differentiation between the USP that you just told me,
Yeah, the differentiation for us is the easy to install, easy to use approach. It's a digital transformation program in the government. This is not only a Brazilian thing. If you look around the world, every country is trying to adapt to new technologies and trying to modernize themselves.
so how, if not that way, how do you foresee the integration capabilities of Abstra evolving in the future?
Yeah, we started to building a new feature called connectors, which is available only for a few customers right now. But you have one-click integration with mostly common SaaS.
Hello there, and welcome to the Newzchain Podcast, where we talk to inspiring people and know their stories. Talking about inspiration, our interns who are currently pursuing a computer science degree have taken quite a liking to our guest for today. With their coding skills as polished as a sandpaper, they find Abstra to be an angel in disguise. Well, for them and various other people who might know Python to be just another species of snake. So, without further ado, let's give it up for Mr. Bruno Costa and dive into the journey of Abstra, a platform that provides tools to build apps that don't require coding experience. So, before we start, I just recently found out that like you started coding when you were only 7 years old. I am gonna turn 25 this March. So, am I too late to start coding?
I have a lot of friends that are great engineers, and I see some that learned after school, after graduation. Some of them just changed their career paths recently. So no, there is no rule for that.
But all jokes aside, how did you, like a 7-year-old back then, got intrigued by coding? Like, what made you start it at that young age?
Yeah, basically, I always have been a creative kid, so I like drawing and animations, and I was very curious about things. And when I was first exposed to video games, this blew my mind. I wanted to make my own games, so I tried to research. At that time, I didn't have Google, so I tried like searching magazines about this programming thing, making games. So I found a book in my uh, aunt's house, and this was a book about a language called Java. So I was like very curious to understand. Oh, I know this is about programming, so this has something to do with games. And then I started to make my first games.
Oh, see, that's one. What were your first games like? Like I used to game a lot as a kid as well, and we're probably the same age right now. So we might have had a few common games. I particularly like of course GTA San Andreas and Roller Coaster Tycoon, if you can remember that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I always want to reproduce my favorite games. At that time, it was Sonic Hedgehog or Mario. I love it to do all kinds of remakes of Zelda, those classic Nintendo ones. And yeah,
So back to the Java part, even in India, when someone takes computer, back in high school, right? We start with Java and we start with MySQL. So owing to the fact that you were developing or rather replicating games that you liked, you were building a really strong foundation. So how did that help you during your academic years in your high school and particularly in your university years?
Yeah, this was very helpful, in particular for math and physics. For instance, I remember the first time I saw a lecture about trigonometry, and all my mates in the school were like super bored about, and I was, oh shit! So this is the way I can just turn around the arm of my robot to shoot in the right direction. So this gave me a lot of more reasons to want to learn more mathematics and learn more physics to apply these concepts to my games.
So it's very commendable what you did, because I was just reading about your background and I came across that you built not one but two startups, PaperX and Sinextra in particular, between then and when Abstra happened. So what was the initial idea? Because both of them, one being an ed tech and one is a gaming startup, right? Like how can you walk me through that particular phase of ideation?
Yeah, my father was an entrepreneur. He's not this kind of startup entrepreneur. He had like a small store, but I always had this vision of him like, oh, he's living the perfect life. He don't have a boss. I saw my mom complaining about her boss, and I saw, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur or have my own company, and I love programming. So I look like in TVs, seeing shows talking about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, and oh, I want to be like them. I want to start my own software company and do stuff like that. I lived in a city in the middle of Amazon forest called Marabá. So at that time, I didn't have any reference about other programmers and how actually people did that. But the ingenuity I had made me try a lot. So during the first school years, I tried to make companies over and over again. So when I was in the high school, I actually, when I finished it, I actually made one company with a couple colleagues of the college I would study that was called Sinextra. I remember the first time I was in the college and looking for partners. I want some co-founders. I want people to make a game studio with me. And I saw like a game tutorial, game classes poster from like 3 years ago in the wall. And so I just grabbed the telephone and called him. So, oh, are you Lucas, the one who give lessons of game making? Ah, yeah, yeah, but this is very old thing. I'm not doing. I don't care. I just want a co-founder to make a game studio. Are you up to that? Are you trying to to make this professionally? Oh yeah, I have a project with my friends, but who are you anyway? And I convinced them. I told no, I want to be. I will be your partner. You just have to interview me. I will prove that I deserve to to make a company with you. So we had a lot of interviewing process, and I joined it as a partner after that. So this was the first company. We started trying to make like mobile games during that period, which we have like Rovio just starting, Angry Birds, and as the first main case of mobile games being successful. And over the time, we our money and our cost of opportunity was getting not very favorable for that model because we didn't have any investment. So we started to make games for other companies, and they actually made good money out of that because we made games for bigger brands in Brazil. But no one was actually happy with that because everyone want to make like their own art. They didn't want to make money. They want to make games. And everyone went to a different direction. Lucas actually went through the game career, and he's have a great game studio right now. And I was to another college in the southeast in Brazil, because it's a very famous college here for engineering for very smart people. And I thought, okay, there I will find more intelligent people that want to make companies, and that's my goal. I applied, passed, and then I went to IME and always focused to find a co-founder. Then I found this Marcos, which was my partner at PaperX, who were starting like a co-working incubation for startups company. And then I asked him to join. I helped him, but after that, we started PaperX, which was like a Duolingo for public tenders and entrance exams. It did very well actually. We sold that company. I was in college at that time, and I sold it to a bigger company in Brazil called Descomplica. And during my time at Descomplica, I tried. I made a lot of things there. I was like product managers, tech lead, head of tech, and etc. And after that, I decided to start a company again. Now I have money. Now I have experience. It's not possible that this time I won't be successful again. I'll try. So I quit the job and started Abstra in 2020. And I remember because it was a very good job. I like it a lot, this complete and the work I did there. And 1 week after I left, started this COVID thing. And okay, it's the best moment to give up of my safety net and just trying to start a company again. But it was very helpful, was very good actually.
No, absolutely. During the pandemic, we saw a surge in digital transformation needs, whether it be edtech or even coding. Everyone was working from home, and I can say, there seems like a belief that you had that says that you needed to democratize app development, right? Making it accessible for especially non-technical people, right? Someone has an idea, they're sitting at home, they cannot hire anyone until like they're pushing really far on LinkedIn or some other platform. So that emergence actually, I can believe, like it would have done wonders. So based on that, how did your personal journey and experiences in especially Brazil's tech environment influence Abstra's initial vision and mission?
Yeah, yeah. My initial vision was to trying to remove this barrier that separate developers from the rest of the world just consuming software, because I saw this problem particularly for operations people in the Descomplica and the previous work I did. um, and the moment actually was very favorable for that because companies started to have digital transformations and etc. Um, and the other thing that was caught my attention is that I wanted to do something that I actually think I could have a good differential from the market. And I never saw myself as a good entrepreneur. I saw myself like a good developer. And this was like the perfect combination. And after we started that, it was very, we have a good luck doing that because we got like a very huge customer at the first moment we started that helped us a lot with the iteration of the product and so on. I probably lose your question. Sorry, my English.
That's all right. I'm pretty sure you didn't. You're talking about your initial vision and mission, so like you would have witnessed some kind of gaps in the tech sector compared to the agribusiness and services that Brazil can put forward to, like globally. So, did you ever had that vision in your head? You want to leverage the vibrant tech talent that is there, particularly in the Python development area.
There was an opportunity, in particular in Brazil, in terms of how companies here was late in terms of digitalization. So after the pandemic, here the impact of people trying to make something digital online but don't have anything to base on was higher. In particular, I do had access to great tech talents here because of the college I did and the network I did that there. But actually, working from Brazil worked against me most of the time. So I remember that Brazilian um, investment environment was not very technical. So this idea of make developer tools, no code, low code, was something very, very in initial stage at that time, at least. And I had a lot of pushback. So what you doing here? Why don't you go to San Francisco to do that? Every competitor you have are there. But it ended up showing me that it's not actually that. In reality, developers and technical buyers and the people we selling to don't care about where you are, actually.
So, like how were you able to shape Abstra's early strategies and operations, like despite of having bureaucratic hurdles and investment issues locally in Brazil? How did that?
Perfect. Yeah, sure. Now I got it.
Hmm.
Uh, I, we were too, and we still are actually very lean. So not needing investment is something that makes a lot of difference. So I started hiring people with my own money that I got from the previous company I sold, and I had one investor that had a good exit with the previous company that was like, I don't care about you doing, I just want to invest in you because I want to do that again. So this helped me a lot to at least start the company. And having this initial big customer and the other customers we got during the like 10 months period, which was very short for this type of product, made me way more confident to look at VCs and trying to get more money to actually raise a seed round. So for me, the difficulty was more not understanding how this environment works. For instance, I didn't understood that VCs actually existed 1 week before I closed my seed round. Was one angel investor that told me, no, what you doing trying to raise with angels? You should try to raise with VCs. Just smaller checks will not get you anywhere. And he presented me to a couple of VCs in Brazil, and I was fortunate to have term sheets from all of them. Yeah, and I did that. And 1 week after, actually a couple of days after, I passed it into IC. So this made this whole fundraising and thing way easier. So, of course, 2021 is completely different in terms of venture environment, but I was fortunately this in this initial moment.
So before we get into YC, I just want to touch upon the fact that you were bootstrapping, you were hiring people from your own money, right? And there are certain times that entrepreneurs as yourself, they are not maybe successful enough to have that kind of access to funds, right? They're not able to build that. So like how would you like maybe put it in your words how to be resilient enough to go through that phase where you cannot bootstrap, you're not getting like funding enough, and you still want to go ahead with a product that you have been developing for quite some time.
Yeah. Before the Abstra, I never thought about raising. Actually, I didn't understood this was even a possibility. So my thought was always I had to be as lean as possible because I can like if I was in college, I used this in favor to not working anywhere as intern, just to make sure I could actually start as many company as possible to have at least one success. And after that, if I didn't have the company I did and the success, I would probably get a, like freelancer job or anything that could give me flexibility over time to keep trying to launch myself. The reason I decided to study computer science deeply was because this actual is the cheapest way to give me power to make my own projects. So I love a lot of other disciplines of human knowledge, but computer science was the more leveraging power I could get without having any money. Like I came from a poor family. I didn't have other ways to start a company. So do it yourself is the best advice I would do to people who don't have access to capital until they have more leverage or more traction, more etc. I did a lot of other things that helped me through the process, like the college I applied and I used that in favor to have a network of co-founders and later from investors too. Of course, this depends a lot in place to place. People have different access, so different ways to use that. But as a general rule, being as cheap as possible, like ramming every day, is the way you can make more sure that you will never be beaten down.
No, absolutely. Resilience is often the key, right? So, like you were bootstrapping, and I just want to go back to the fact that you got selected into YC, which is a really big feat for any startup in the initial days, after a bit of traction that they can garner. So, what was the whole experience like?
Yeah, it was great. Like this transformed my way of viewing this startup thing because I'm still very learning, but I was very immature at that time on how think globally, how aggressive is the market, how hard should I work. Like my reference always made me think that I'm very smart and hard worker and more than average. And seeing like a batch of people who are more than me made me want to like work faster, work better. This challenged me a lot. Of course, gave me a lot of trouble with my auto-esteem as well. But this actually is important for an entrepreneur. Um, and this changed me the network of founders that I knew there that for me is the biggest value I see gave us. Of course that there is the demo day, there is other things like their internal informations, etc. But mostly change the mindset was the most important thing for me.
Yeah, it's really great, as you said earlier as well, it pushes you, right? It certainly helps you grow, and it opens further doors, in terms of growth, whether it be your intellectual growth or whether it be your, like financial growth. So, it might have helped you in your initial funding, right? Particularly the 2.3 million USD from SoftBank Latin America Fund, if I'm correct. So, how did that set Abstra's trajectory further?
Yeah, after that, we were in a very interesting situation because we raised that fund in about September or October 21, and we were growing like 35% month over month for like the previous 6 months. But even though we were getting more sales, we wasn't very comfortable with what we were selling because our initial thesis was to try to make professional development for no code. We were trying to make like Bubble plus Figma, doing like a very pro level no coding platform. And we discovered that making complex systems didn't require just coding as skill, but also knowledge of architecture, knowledge about organizations, etc. That made us not believe in the product. And we foresee, we saw before the possible churn of the customers that started super happy and then was getting worse experience over time as they were trying to do more complex stuff and messing around with the tool. And when we started to get our first churns, we made a decision. Okay, this direction will not work. We have to pivot, but to what? And we started to figure out and think, who are our best customers right now, looking to our customers that are actually having success. Who are they? And they were all developers actually, developers using the no code tool to just make things faster or easier. And I I had this idea of, okay, but what were they doing? They were doing like interface for scripts, interface for some internal workflows they created, and I had this idea of, okay, maybe if I just make like a Python library or something very simple that they can just with one command create this whole interface, it will make easier for them to use because they don't have to drag and drop a lot of configurations on the screen. It will make it easier for us because it will way easier to maintain and to be production ready faster. And I do think this is very unique because we saw like we could pivot to MVPs or small proof of concepts, but Bubble was there and we didn't have our differentiations in that direction. Like we were trying to do a professional way because we knew that making MVPs tools, there is a lot of competitions in the market, but doing coder automation experience that very, very, very quick. We saw like Retool doing something like that. We saw a couple companies, but none of them looking similar to what we envisioned. So we started to offer this to our customers and see if then were replaced. And then we replaced all the customers we have from the previous tool to the next one. And it started as a very side project, then become like side to side project, and then we decide to pivot. Okay, this is the way we go. We found like our most happy customers there, but we had like a huge problem because we didn't figure out a way to sell this at scale. So we tried to sell, but it was rare to find someone with this specific problem of creating interface for scripts. But when we find it, they were super happy. So we changed the problem we have because before was easy to sell, hard to deliver. Now is the opposite. And over time, we were trying to iterate with the value prop and understand the high level concept of what are we actually solving. It's not interface for script, it's automation, is internal workflows, is more like how to code your company fast, easily. And then we start to creating these workflows, which was our last pivot before we started get traction. We tested with a few clients. All of them were like, no, when I can just start using because I want that as fast as possible. And when the first one committed with enterprise, we decided, okay, this is the direction. We have like more revenue in 1 week with this idea than we have like in a whole year with the other tool. And that's where we are. We are growing the workflows from now. I think we found our way there.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a really dumb question. I hope you don't mind that. So you briefly mentioned Bubble, right? And before Abstra came to the market, you had these freemium model-based no-code platforms like Noodle, VWeb, Bubble, of course, and like similar platforms that can lead you till the like Flutterflow or Figma, right? So these were they had a freemium model, right? And you relatively starting like every startup has a thought process. We don't want to burn money, right? Even if we are raising an investment, we don't want to burn a lot of money. So how did you tackle those kind of challenges?
Yeah, and this depends a lot of the company's target. For instance, when targeting MVPs and entrepreneurs, Bubble does a good strategy of making this freemium because there's a lot of price sensitive people in this market. And when you get someone hooked, is the best moment to try. And you charge like a little bit, uh, you charge just a little bit, and this makes sense for them. For our case, as we were getting traction in bigger companies over time, we saw that trying to charge upfront or at least have a commitment upfront and give trials instead of freemiums made more sense to us. Because for B2B enterprise softwares, actually have someone committed to use is harder than actually have them committed to pay. We had a lot of customers who, okay, I pay that, but we had like hard work to make them start using, then they actually had success with that.
I see. So, like, since we are talking about generating revenue, I would just like to extend it towards partnership as well, which certainly help you raise a lot of capital, as we have seen. So how did securing a relationship with Accenture influence Abstra's market position, and of course the visibility in the local tech community?
Yeah, I like to joke that this was a luck of my 100th shot. Basically, in the college I studied, there's a lot of people who applies to consulting and go to this career, and I get the phones of everyone and call everyone trying to make a coffee and trying to get a point into these bigger consulting firms. And I remember it was like after my 30 person I talked, someone actually, oh, this is nice. I think I can present this to my boss. And after that, this was very fast. Like the first meeting, not just his boss, but the boss of his boss and the boss was in the meeting. So I was like not prepared for that. I just showed the product, showed the vision, and they bought that like upfront. They oh, how can we just start? Where do we sign? And this, okay, this is serious. I will send an email with the contract, and then started the relationship. Now they are like great partners of us.
So what I'm trying to understand is like like you had two responsibilities. You had a boost from Accenture, right? And you wanted to move ahead with that. But there is always the thing, okay, I want to increase my user base, and I also want to make sure that my platform remains intuitive and like kind of accessible, like the way it was initially, and not like we are not adding too many features to that. Like so how did you balance between those two things?
Okay. There's not an easy answer for that. Basically, it's a day-to-day decision to balance this keep the product lean versus accept one more feature to close another customer, especially enterprise and B2B. But we we changed our way of thinking about this prioritization. Instead of uh, talking to a possible customer and understand what they want and build that, and then after trying to get other people to buy, we actually started having a concept of how should we solve this problem. And given that fixed, I would try to find people who have this problem or not. If they have this problem, we believe that we'll solve the problem. If they don't have, I will not try to increase the scope to make sure I get this customer. Like some will, some want, so what next? And after that, the vision of the product become way cleaner for us, at least. Of course, we evolve, we add stuff over time, but only when we understand and accept that this is something that is in the vision of the product. We don't give any particular features for any customers anymore, even though it's super hard to do. Actually, easy to say.
Of course, like it feels really good, like based on your answer, I can just see that your goal was always to make, like kind of sophisticated app development, as user friendly as possible at the end of the day. And yeah, it's I'm really glad to hear something like that. So, based on that, I would like to wrap up this segment. I just had one more question. How do you reflect on Abstra's impact on Brazilian IT market? and especially the global no code movement based on your initial goals?
Yeah. Just to be clear, today we don't position ourselves as no code anymore because we end up doing more a developer tool. Actually, is based on Python. That depends of programming to do stuff, but it's a low code, so it's in a very closed space. Um, and the impact there is in a couple levels, like having a case of a technology, pure technology company in Brazil is pretty rare here. So the moment we decide to start the company, I decide this idea, this constraint of making a technology pure is not a education tech or law tech or whatever, it's a tech and make it global was the premise of the impact I wanted to make to the community of entrepreneurs and how bold people could be. Um, and there is the impact on the market that we expect to do that is showing that coding is not that hard or as hard as people think, especially nowadays with ChatGPT and all those generative code technologies that we use a lot for that. Um, the trade-offs you have to do to learn programming versus trying to hack around a lot of solutions is becoming more favorable to code over time as code become easier to start. So I do think this will impact how many people actually will try to learn programming and enter in the technology market, and how many companies will start adopting developing things for them, customized. Because if you have like one button that you press and you have like an app or system for you, everyone will push it. The reason why the development market is so small is a huge market, of course, but compared to its potential, it's just because it's expensive. And I do think Abstra and other people who try to do similar things make it way more approachable for any company, any people trying to solve their problems with technology. I don't know for your question.
It does, it definitely does. And what I get out of it is, of course, like you have been empowering users globally to develop low code apps, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Basically,
And yeah.
my pitch is if you know just a little bit of Python, because being a
Mhm.
developer take you like months, years. No,
Mhm.
like the basic Python take you like weeks. If you
Mhm.
just know just that, and you have curiosity and ChatGPT on your side, you can do anything using Abstract.
So, who would you label as your immediate competitors in today's?
Uh-huh. Yeah, today I think are the tools who are targeting developers to use low code like Retool, there is Windmill, there is other tools I know with this AppMyth and etc. In this market is still not very mature yet. So actually, the real competitor we have is the developer pure coding like React or these tools, because most of the market is still using this way to solve every problem, no matter if the problem is large enough to worth.
I see. So, considering the differentiation between the USP that you just told me.
Yeah, the differentiation for us is the easy to install, easy to use approach. For all the other tools I tried, you have to learn some tutorials to understand how it works. You have to adapt your code base. You have to give up some code controls you have using your own repositories. And mainly Abstra is the simplest way that you can just write one simple command on your computer and install it, and then you're up running, and you don't have to learn anything different. It's just the basic Python thing. Everything we abstract away are things that are not something you have to learn to read the docs, are intuitive. So we try to approach the market in this way. But the other point of differentiation is our go-to-market actually, because we are focusing more on compete with BPMS tools like ClickUp, Monday, these tools, because we are seeing a big opportunity of bringing more control and sophistication to company operations as a whole. So my value prop is you can now finally code your company.
Certainly, that's a beautiful proposition, and pretty sure that will give any other competitor a run for their money, even despite not being exactly in the realm. Like you said, your immediate competitors are the coders themselves. So this kind of USP has certainly helped your company get the due fame, right? And there was a list that was published which said you were one of the 10 companies to watch in 2023. How did that impact Abstra's strategy and focus?
Yeah, it didn't impact actually. This is just thing to flex with other friends, but yeah, actually we don't take a lot of attention to news about the company outside, because this could make us more soft or thinking we already won the startup war. But yeah, it's always nice to see more people validating and giving us some all of thoughts.
I see. But there's still certain trends that the company would be taking notice, right? Say GPT-4 came, and it had a beautiful response to the coding environment. Now I can just take a screenshot, I can put it in there, and it will generate the code for me. So how do you respond to these kind of trends as the AI market grows, and especially the user demands are increasing in the low code or no code market?
Yeah. That's our biggest bet. We strongly believe that a whole generative AI thing, besides other impacts, will in particular impact how people code and how people learn to code. And this is the reason why most of our enterprise customers today, they are not actual developers, they are just hackers, people who are trying to mix stuff together, but now they have the benefit of using proper code, proper Git, proper all the tools developers had without past these years of learning that developers had to do. So I strongly believe that code was not used, not because code was not a good tool. Code was not used because it was hard to learn. So if it become easy to learn, people start coding more instead of no coding. And that's what we see. Like ChatGPT, we integrate with everything, and we generate code. We have our own models as well. We have a lot of these things here inside, but all these things are used to power our vision even more.
I see. So, are you planning to bring any kind of generative AI or APIs that get developed through them within the realm of your product?
Yeah, we do actually. Our main experience is basically editor of your workflows and the space where you can code. There is a part of it that we call Smart Console, which is a place that you can ask questions, debug, ask them to finish the product for you. So this is very intensive to our product experience actually. This is the most used feature.
I see. Well, that's really amazing. So, you can say the entry of generative AI have kept you on your toes, like adapting to new technologies and user expectations, right?
Uh-huh.
So, within this context, how do you see Abstra's role within the broader, like initiatives that are presented by, say, the local government, such as Tech D initiative, if I'm correct about it?
Okay. Yeah. This is It's a digital transformation program in the government. This is not only Brazilian thing. If you look around the world, every country is trying to adapt to new technologies and trying to modernize themselves. Um, so Abstra role of being the easier tool to use and start having this same quality ensure that you have coding normally, but not having to change the scope of people you hire or change, make it way harder to use, match very good with this moment, right? That's why we do have a couple users from government, especially in the Brazilian army.
That's great, and especially when you say that, every government wants their particular country to be advanced, to have advancements within technology, right? So it generates a competitive landscape, which would, again, like we previously were discussing, it will keep you on your toes, right? So, given that, how is Abstra maintaining its edge, especially when other platforms offer various integrations and services?
Yeah, we have a couple modes. One of them is once you use Abstra, the we are open source our library editor. So migrate would require a huge differentiation in terms of product to justify that. Um, and the adoption of the tool is itself becoming something that is a moat as well, because more people are learning Abstra and liking that and teaching Abstra to other people. So it's easier over time to find people who just use that. Uh, we do have our internal models as well. So the coding generation part, we just don't give to OpenAI's model. We have an internal version that over time is become way more powerful. And for people who are just trying right now, or the companies who are just trying to use an external model, they have like a hard time to specialize and to make this actually useful or actually as differentiated as we are doing today. Um, yeah, and this enterprise market, there is a lot of modes in terms of relationships and how to start before the others. Being the first to be in the Fortune 500 will be a very differentiation reason for a very long time.
It certainly does, and it becoming like a notable presence within that market also, like gives you your own sense of pride in a good way, and that brings up more, like new startups as you were once, like that can start their journey using your product. So, do you have any notable startup stories that came into existence with the use of Abstra?
Yeah, we do. We do have many actually. The most recent was Nested Knowledge, which is a startup in US. They have a great product of biology and scientific research organization, but they have like internal operation that they have to automatize, and they use it Abstra for that, for things in the customer support side. Mostly we see other startups. We have like Double and other startups doing sales ops with Abstra because they just script generation of invoices and integration with their CRMs and onboarding. Yeah, we do have many.
That's great. So I hope even they are listening to this podcast when it releases, right? And for them, can you share any immediate future plans or developments that just Abstract community can look forward to, or even the others who might be trying to get into the same field?
You asked me if I have like a roadmap to share, or is it?
Yeah, like any immediate release that you guys are planning, or
Ah,
stating
yeah.
a addition of a new feature maybe.
Okay, got it. We have two main pillars of our product that we are developing over time. The first one is better abstractions, which the reason why the company name is Abstra. And we had a lot of new ways of abstract access control and abstract interface building and monitoring that will come in the near future. So this will be easier than it is right now, and this will enable more and more people to adopt faster, import from other competitors, just export and load your product in Abstract, something that will come soon. And we do have another pillar in the product that is the AI itself. That our model, we just had a couple leap frogs previously that we use to change the experience of how you link things on the interface. Because right now our model just talk with your code, written code, but now they will actually start making the whole workflows for you, uh, and this changes a lot of things in terms of the speed of usage.
Of course, it these kind of features, they always enhance productivity and creativity, right? And like that'll obviously make the whole development phase faster and more intuitive. My question would be, how do you stay in touch with your community and like cater to their needs in general?
Yeah, in Abstra, we put a lot of value in customer success. So, besides the people who are focused on that, everyone in the company respond tickets. Everyone have a rotation of moment to enter in a call with the customer. We are super obsessed about it, and I do it as well. So I spend like a huge chunk of my day just trying to debug things with my customers, just trying to understand what the difficulties, seeing them, writing the code in a meet with me. Uh, yeah, I do love to do that. And also we do have like a very consultative way of approach the customers for new features, that we talk with many people before actually put something in the product. We have like a lot of care to each step we do to make sure it's going to the vision we have and being useful to our users.
I see. Do you have a Discord community or maybe even a Reddit page where you can also go, or even the community themselves can talk with each other, discuss issues if they have?
Yeah, yeah. We do have a Discord channel. Is Discord GG/Abstract. Then people can just join and ask questions there.
So how do you approach that? Do you have like a you know what's the word? What is that? Having a separate ID for yourself, like a secret identity, something like that.
In the Abstract tool or
No, no, just you say, have you ever been to a discussion page? Just not like as Bruno, the CEO of Abstra, but instead, say a random user, like with a new idea or something. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, I do it a lot. For instance, sometimes I have an idea that I want to share with the people in the team, but I also want to share with the customers to see their opinion. So I just ask them, "Oh, what do you think about that?" I'm trying to solve this problem. The tool maybe thinking about this direction and bring them to the work with us, this creative work.
I see. No, that's really great. That's certainly quite interesting. I would want to do that if I were a CEO of some country, but sorry, a company, not a country. Okay, we can also expect that. But in either way, like it's actually really great, considering your plans for product expansion. So, how do you particularly plan to stay ahead of long-term competitors, and continue to attract new users?
Yeah, yeah. We have a couple ways to bring customers today. Most of our customers comes through SEO content and mainly from recommendations because the product itself has user gets user, member get member hack. Every notification give us people to reasons to try it. But also we do have a lot of presence on communities, tech communities, and we do believe if we do a good product there and we have some authority of doing a good things for people and actually solving their problems, people start spreading, and this become like a good cycle of growth. Yeah, mostly today we bring customers with the product itself and content and communities.
So, has any of your user, particularly within those discussion, asked you, can we do this on a Android platform, or can we maybe just take it to my iPad if possible?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We have a lot of customers asking those things. Our response is okay. We do care about this, but it's not on our vision right now. Do you have a hack to do that? Because it's Python, it's code, it's open source. So we show them a lot of ways to just bring their product and customize themselves to make it a real app. And this is the other beauty of this coding approach because the no of the tool is not a no for the case. You can always hack this on your way to what you need. Um, and yeah, mostly when people ask those things that are quite far from our vision, we try to help them to help themselves.
I see. That's really great. So how, if not that way, how do you foresee the integration capabilities of Abstra evolving in the future?
Yeah, we started to building a new feature called connectors, which is available only for a few customers right now. But you have one-click integration with mostly common SaaS. Like if you want to connect to Google Sheets and or Google Calendar, and everyone who tried that before know that it's a pain in the ass to do that. You can just click once in the Abstra console and allow a specific sheet or a specific folder. This will become way easier. We are testing in beta stage. This should be launched in the next months.
I see. So that's a great plan. It sounds like, something that will take you ahead. So in terms of that kind of an expansion, globally, what markets or sectors are you targeting next?
Yeah, my market is still in the beginning. What we are getting, so we do think this mid market to enterprise customers are our focus in terms of expansion. We do have a lot of startups using, which for us is a good bet, not just for helping them, but also because some of them will be very successful and this will be a growth channel over time, but it's a long-term shot. And we probably will continue to focus on our internal sales teams to regulated markets like finance, financial service, or healthcare, those markets who have the biggest problem to solve in terms of operations and auditability and security, that what may differentiate us as well from the other competitors.
See, that's great. So, has that been working out for you, especially in South America and North America? Your immediate geographical location, right?
Actually, I'm not using the fact of being Brazilian. So even though my biggest customers are Brazilian for enterprise mainly, the smaller customers that represent like a huge part of their revenue, they are startups around the world or smaller companies around the world. So we have customers in Europe, customers in Asia, customers in US, customers in Argentina, customers in Brazil, very very spread across.
That's great. Do you have any customers in India?
Probably I'll have to search in the database here to check, but probably yes.
That's great. So, how are you working out on that kind of expansion as well? Like, do you have a plan to do, I don't know, maybe you said you have peer-to-peer marketing, right? Maybe using word of mouth as a way to spread your product. Do you plan to do any paid marketing or like even using the means of advertisement in the near future to expand further?
Maybe some experiments. I'm very skeptical about ads in terms of unit economics, how hard is to how expensive is the customer there. But we do lose a lot of ads to iterate with our content. Like SEO is a good strategy for other entrepreneurs just trying to pay ads to a landing page and iterate with that until you have a good score, and then wait until the organic comes. But mostly we do ads just as experiments. We don't run ads for growth purposes.
I see that answers my question. And before we wrap up this episode, I just had one last question. Do you have any closing thoughts on what the future holds for Abstra and its community of users and developers?
I envision Abstra as the simplest way to just get started coding. So I do envision that over time, my customers' average will become less and less technical, not because engineers and developers will stop using it, but because more and more people who never considered coding before or who tried once and didn't get success with that will have success by trying to learn and using Abstra. Not just because we have simple interfaces and abstractions, but also we have this whole movement of AI we are surfing about generating code and make it easier. Uh, so I do think in the future we will see more and more product managers, financial people, customer success folks. As our customers today, they are people like that. They are not just developers. We're seeing more and more people coding in Python with Abstra.
That's pretty great to hear. And I would just like to wish you all the best for your future, uh, not just you, but Abstra's future that is about to come. And on the behalf of the Newzchain team, thank you for being here. It was really great to have you.
Yeah, thank you for sure. So, thank you.
And with that, we have come to the end of our episode. We'll be back with more delightful anecdotes, crisp insights, and invaluable advice. So thank you for tuning in. We release our episodes on all podcast friendly platforms on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I look forward to catching up with you guys at the next one. So, alright, this is where we phone it in, metaphorically speaking, of course. Don't forget to subscribe to us for more updates and tidbits about our episodes. You can catch more content around the episodes, such as behind the scenes and bloopers, by following us in the links placed somewhere around here. So, ciao.